All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our free Friday coaching call. This is the last call of this month. They happen the first and third Fridays of the month, and I love doing these calls. Rick used to do these calls uh, until he passed in 2023, and how they came about is that for all of the years that he was an agent, which was 43, and he traveled and spoke and trained and coached, he'd always give out his phone number and say, if you need anything, call me, which a lot of people did over the course of those years. And so he created this call on Fridays to be a one-to-many conversation for people that had a mindset that wanted to continue to learn and grow and skill up from a mindset perspective and a skill set perspective in the real estate industry. And honestly, a place to bring great people together, regardless of what company they're with or what stage in the business they're at. And so we've continued this call, and it's morphed into me being able to interview really, really incredible people, which I love because I'm an eternal student as well. And I'm always looking for how I can learn and how I can grow and how I can be better. And my what I've discovered is that skill sets are transferable. So while we'll be talking about things for real estate today, and while we do talk about things for that are real estate, what I find is that the principles for those are often transferable into a personal life context, because what works in one place has an application somewhere else. And so I know that there's over 900 people on an email list that sign up to make sure that they get notification of these calls. And if they're unable to make it in person live, they get the email that goes out afterwards. So I'm excited to have so many people on camera today. This is fantastic. The majority of the screen is live faces, which if you're not somebody that presents often or is speaking in public often, it is so much more fun to engage with people than little black boxes. No pressure to the one little black box that I see on the screen. However, I'm sure you'll come on camera when you can get a second to hit that button. So, without further ado, we're going to jump into the call for today. The woman that is our guest for today is somebody that is, it's so funny. The first time that I really heard her name, knew about her, was Rick was scheduled to go teach in her office at Red Key Realty. This is years ago. And there ended up being a little conflict with that. And so he sent the wife instead. And oh my goodness, what an incredible community of agents that she had created and incredible leadership. She had years in the business at that point of experience. Today, that those years of experience span 30 years now. She's got a really interesting history of where she's come from. She was recognized as Keller Williams' #1 agent nationwide. She used to previously own a market center there, and she's been in leadership roles. Today, she's at eXp Realty, and she has sales teams in Northwest Indiana and then Southwest Florida because she relocated. So she's got business in both places, which is pretty incredible. And she's somebody that has a passion for the industry for sure. She's a founding member of the luxury division within eXp Realty and has served on the Luxury Advisory Council. And she's an 8-time icon agent. So she's been recognized in Real Trends, Forbes, Wall Street Journal, you name it. She's been out there. She has done and continues to do a lot to make an impact in our industry. So I am super excited to have her on the call today. I'm grateful to get an hour of her time for the benefit of our community. Jana, welcome to the call.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hello,
So
everyone.
we're going to keep this a free flowing conversation like we always do. So if there's questions that come up for our listeners as you're on, feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand. You're not going to throw either of us off because we're going to have an organic conversation that's not scripted or planned. So there's nothing you can do to mess it up. Isn't that exciting? And we actually encourage participation. So if there's something that you want to ask or want to know or want to dig deeper in on, just let us know and we'll for sure do that. But as we jump in, Jana, there's so many different backgrounds and years of experience of people that attend this conversation. And so what I would love to do is just back up to a really simple question, which is, why did you choose real estate? And 30 years later, why are you still here? And what are you most excited about?
Mm. Why did I choose real estate? Because I wanted to get out of a career that I wasn't very happy in, to be honest with you. And so I just was like, what can I do that excites me? And I used to always watch and see all these mainly women driving nice cars and making a lot of money, and they weren't behind a desk. And I always had a desk job throughout my career, in my young 20s and 30s. And I was like, no, I want to have that flexibility, that freedom, that entrepreneurial spirit. So I just decided to call somebody that I didn't even know and ask her. I lived in that town. It was Lafayette, Indiana, which is Purdue University, and I saw her everywhere. And I thought, okay, this gal does it right. And if I'm going to get into real estate, I'm gonna do this and follow, the lead of someone who's doing it exceptionally well. Because I was giving up a career and a company car and a salary and all the, normal stability things. And so I just chatted with her and she made it look easy, I guess. I thought it was going to be easy, but she clearly told me from the beginning that it wasn't. So I kind of went in eyes wide open and I just dove in. She connected me with the right people, Star Power. I don't know if any of you have heard of Star Power, but years ago, that was kind of like the training guru when I got in at 30 years ago, Howard Brinton. And so I just dove in. I started listening to, it was tapes back then, tapes, CDs, just anything I could get my hands on to learn from top producers throughout the country, regardless of what company they were with. And I was just, really wanted to see if this was right for me. And it just felt right. And it was something I wanted to do. So I totally quit my job and just went all in and started in a town that I absolutely knew no one in. I didn't go to school there and I didn't have like a database or anything. And I just thought, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to build a business and if I like to do things well, if I'm going to do it at all. And so I just kind of just dove in, and that was 30 years ago.
Well, I think there's definitely something to learn from the beginning part of your story, which is commitment. And you went through whatever your due diligence process was going to be. And then when you decided you were going to do it, that's the direction you were going. You weren't putting your toe in the water and weren't testing it out to see if it was going to work for you. Decided and went all in. So I think there's definitely something to be learned from that. So here you are 30 years later, you're definitely still very active in every aspect of the business and the industry. And so that's an incredible career. So why are you still in it? And what keeps you in it? And what are you most excited about right now?
So there's been many times that I wanted to quit. So I'm not gonna lie, like it's been many times where I'm like, so I always go back to, I guess, you know, the parts that I enjoy. So I would leverage off the parts I didn't enjoy. And the parts that I enjoyed was helping people, for one. And and that actually was my business motto from day one. And I still have that on everything. It's winning in life by helping others. So I think I go back to that. And whenever I'm in the stress of it all and think, why am I doing this? It's just like, okay, I get a charge out of helping people and making a difference in their lives and accomplishing goals and making things happen. And so for me, that was, obviously dealing with buyers and sellers and selling a lot of houses. I mean, I was cranking out 2, 3, 400 homes a year, in our tiny little town. So it was like we were on that hamster wheel and we were serving and helping a lot of people. So back in the day, that was fun for me to do, right? But then it was getting old and monotonous and exhausting because I also have 4 children. So I was having babies while I was doing all that. And so I had to embrace leverage. And so for me now it's doing the things that I enjoy, which now it's more like leading my team, helping some buyers and sellers. I do still serve in the Naples market, that I'm active there, but like in my Indiana team, all I do is lead and run the business and coach and train and develop and solve problems. Like I was on earlier today with just helping an agent on my team just figure out the best way to serve and help others. So yeah, so leading, I think, is probably why I still do it. I love to lead, and that's whether it's in my community or my team or my business. I mean, I get a thrill out of it and a charge out of it. And the more money I make, the more I'm able to help people and give. And so it's not just about the money. Of course, I want to run a profitable business, and it's afforded us a lot in our life. But for me, it's about just the passion of it and helping, I think.
Yeah,
So,
I love that. And I love what you said I put it in the chat, winning in life by helping others. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what we do. We get paid to solve problems.
mhm.
And I think when we keep sight on the fact that that is what we're doing, and the larger the problems you solve, the more you create for yourself personally, right? In the business. And so we are professional problem solvers for sure. So you and I were chatting literally just 1 or 2 minutes before the call started that you've been reflecting about the last 30 years in your business and the things that you've learned, and those lessons that have kept you in the industry and kept you succeeding in the industry at the level that you have. So would love to start the dialogue around what are some of those things. And obviously, they're going to be things that are timeless, and you learn different things at different stages of the journey depending on where you're at, right? So, people
Mhm.
that are new agents are in the new agent challenges of the business. People that are at max capacity as an individual agent have a different set of challenges to solve for, and then people that go and create leverage through sales teams have a different set of challenges to solve for. So there's different lessons at each evolution, and you've been in every role and every place of them. So where would you like to start?
Oh, geez, I don't know. Which lane do you want me to start in, guys? I mean, this is for you. So, whether it's, I mean, leverage is for me was the name of the game. And I think the mindset of from day one that this is a business, it's not a charity, and there's nothing wrong with making money and running a profitable business. I just think a lot of people, for some reason, have a hard time with that, and they think that it's not okay to make money in a business or to run a strong, profitable business. And I'm not sure why that is, but I feel like I entered into it knowing that this was my job and I needed to make money and I needed to do it well. So I would say, like, just having that foundation in place from the get-go, it's knowing what it is I was creating and hiring people for my mission and not theirs. Like, it was like, this is the business. These are my core values. These are, this is, you know, my mission, my vision, my belief, everything. It was like, this is what I'm setting out to do. And then I hired people to it. But I definitely believe that leverage is key. Like I said, I had babies while I was doing this and building this, so I couldn't do everything. I had to have administrative help from day one. I pretty much hired an admin in my first year. So I totally believe in, if you don't have an administrative person helping you, then you are the admin. And so I just kind of always set that up from the start. And then I gave up working with buyers and would hire buyer specialists to just help with my buyers. And I focused on listings. That's what I was good at. I would, at the kitchen table. And then I got tired of dealing with listings. So I would leverage myself out on that. So it just depends on what you like to do. I say do what you're passionate about and do what you're good at. You're not going to be good at every single thing in this business. And that's what I see so many people trying to do it all. And in this day and age, I mean, with virtual assistants, AI, just any systems, tools, systems, I had all that in place so that I don't have to be the one that's doing everything.
Yeah, I love that. So you did mention one thing that I have noticed throughout. Well, I've been in the industry 21 years, and it's a conversation that comes up amongst agents a lot. And it is not just recognizing, but owning the value that you bring as the agent. And you referenced it about not being ashamed of making a living and making a great living and working with the right people that are willing to pay you for the service that you're going to render.
Mhm.
And, there's not a fixed amount of expectation of what anyone's going to make because we all get to decide that based on our perceived value and how we market ourselves and hold ourselves. And I see this in a lot of times that's the first thing to go, or the first thing a lot of agents will flex on, which is, okay, well, I'll do it for 2% to get it, or whatever the number is. It doesn't even matter whatever the number is. It's and so, talk about that just from a valuing yourself and how you do your business and run your business.
I think I always had my unique value proposition, your, what is it, UVP or whatever. And I always felt like, there was a difference and why, what they got from me versus someone else. So I would never talk about the other agent or the other team or whoever I was competing with. I encouraged people to interview, and I just like went in and presented and talked a whole different language. And so I worked really hard on my value proposition, why someone would want to do business with me. I was always like, how can I have a unique differentiator? You know, what is that differentiator for me? Because everybody does a lot of the same things. So I think I did embrace things that no one else had embraced early on, like building a team, for example. No one in my area really had a team, you know, and no one, you know, had a moving truck, for example. I even had a moving truck, you know, back in the day. And so just no one like stood out. And so I tried really hard to just, how can I be different? How can I be unique? Why would someone want to pay me more? I mean, I felt like it was my skill. And I was very good at what I did, and I was confident, and they would be in great hands if they chose me versus someone else. And so I just delivered that confidence and that knowledge. I was a studier. I'm still learning based, as you know. I mean, that's how you and I, you know, met, was always attending things and learning. And so even to this day, like I feel like I'm never going to be there. Like, I'm like, okay, because everything changes and evolves, and I'm agile. I'm like, okay, I mean, I've gone through every kind of market imaginable, every kind of, you know, ups and downs and crisis, from, you know, 9/11 to, you know, down markets to, I mean, just everything. COVID, you know, I mean, so for me, it's just a challenge, and it's the mindset. I think mindset plays a huge part in it. There's never going to be a perfect. I've not ran a perfect 30-year career. I don't claim to. I've made lots of mistakes, but I'm quick to pivot and move forward and learn from my mistakes. But I also think you have to be a visionary. You have to like be ahead of the game. And that I always wanted to be 15 steps ahead of my competition. So I just invested in myself and invested in my team and invested in my brand. I think your brand is everything. Your integrity is everything. Not being afraid to, you know, I mean, I take money out of the equation when I'm negotiating or doing anything, and I always make the right decision because I don't think about the money. So that was another thing that was really important to me, is my integrity. So what happens is 30 years later, you know, you're just being consistent. You're just working hard. You're working smart. You're being very consistent with your actions. And, you know, you have your own personal development plan. Each and every one of you should have it. I still have one. I require my team to even have one, and to really think about, okay, now you're here, like, now what are we going to learn? You know, and now you're here, now what are we going to learn? I mean, we just keep constantly tweaking and developing and getting better at what we do. So yeah, I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but communicating, service, all of that is going to be part of that value proposition. You know, it has nothing to do with just the commission. I'm a big marketer. I will tell you that one of my differentiators from the start was that I spent money on marketing when other agents didn't.
And what did that look like?
I mean, back early on, it was print, right? Like, we did a ton of print, and we had the magazines, you know, like, I'm even thinking, do you remember Homes and Land or Homes and Lifestyle and all those publications, which I think they're all out of business now. But whatever is popular at the time, I always invested in that. Like, I was always in it. I was never afraid to invest in that seller and spend money on their home to market it. I felt like it was my job to expose it and get it out there. So what happened was, though, a good job of that, more people wanted to deal with me. That's what sellers want. They want that marketing, that exposure. And I just see so many agents that are not willing to invest. And really, ultimately, it's building your career and helping you do more business. So I was one of the first to have a website. Like, my own broker didn't even have a website when I got into the business. I had to say, hey, this is a new thing. We should do this. He didn't want to do it, so I just did it myself. But I made it all about me and my team and my brand versus the company. So there were times that I had to leave the company that I was with because I felt like I was more advanced and more forward thinking and more of a visionary than the current organization that I was with. So I kind of had to be the leader and be the change um, in my world, early on because it just was kind of unheard of. So, seeing in the future and bringing that and not being afraid to do it, too. I think I was pretty fearless when it came to a lot of that. But, how do you stand out? You have to differentiate. So,
Love that. So,
yeah.
I know that what a lot of agents get in is the sales cycle, right? And particularly agents that are doing real estate to, as a source of living. And you're talking a lot, you've referenced it multiple times about reinvesting in the business. And so, what do you, or how do you coach the agents that you work with as to when that commission check comes in, how they should be allocating it if they want to run a business that's sustainable and going to grow, where you put the money where the money matters versus, oh, well, I need this much to live off of, and this is what I have left over, and so I don't have money to do that. What is that dialogue or conversation from a business perspective to an agent at this stage in the game for you?
Well, I think there's a lot of things you don't even have to spend money to learn. I mean, you don't have to fly across the country to go to a conference and learn. Nowadays, you can hop on a Zoom like this, or whatever you're like with our company, we have a whole world of training, right? You can sit there in your own privacy in your own home and learn about every single aspect of this business that you want to learn about. So I don't think it costs near like I used to have to spend money, right, to fly to a conference and whatnot. But now there's so much learning available online and with your real estate company that you're affiliated with. And so I think it's easier. There's no reason why. I think you do it simultaneously. You learn every day, you implement every day, you kind of just like keep doing it. You don't have to like learn, and then do. I think it's just I've incorporated it in my life. You know, I mean, early on, I would always be like, okay, at the end of the day, what did I do to improve my business today? In terms of my own skill development. At some point, I'm sure I learned something or embraced something or, took 30 minutes to do something that improved my skill set. And then also, what activities did I partake in that was going to increase my business? So, I mean, and if you just like have simple things, I really try to simplify things. I feel like realtors make it way too difficult. They have way too much on their plate. I think if you just kind of like zero in, one of the things in my Keller Williams days that we always did was a 1-3-5. I don't know if you remember the 1-3-5, but that is a wonderful tool. And the 1-3-5 stands for the 1 is your goal, which is a G. The 3 is priority. So what 3 priorities do I need to focus on that's going to help me achieve that goal? And then the S is the 5 strategies under each one of those priorities that are going to help drive me accomplish that priority, which will ultimately help me do the goal. So that is the GPS, which stands for navigation, right? So I think if you just narrow down your focus and do a 1-3-5 on whatever it is you're trying to achieve. I mean, I have multiple 1-3-5s, whether it's for leading my team or recruiting to my organization or to, but I have a separate one for my Indiana business, right? Like, what are we going to do our 1-3-5 for that? But I also encourage each of my team members to have that for themselves. Every agent can do that. It's simple. Your 1-3-5 is going to change all the time. And then within that, you're going to have your own personal development plan too. So I think if you just do it, simplify things. If you have a huge problem right now, what's that one thing that you need to clear space for and make, get it off your plate? I do a lot of brain dumping because sometimes my mind is just like, I want to do so much. What I find is a lot of realtors want to do everything, but they don't want to do everything well, right? Like we're just juggling all the balls and we're giving 5% effort and therefore we're getting a 5% result. And so I think sometimes you got to brain dump all this and all these ideas are wonderful, but what do you really need to do and what do you really need to prioritize? And let's take that over to the 1-3-5 and kind of like just focus on that, you know? And then you come up with these wonderful ideas. Yeah, put it in your little idea book and or delegate that. Get you a VA or somebody who's good at that. Like you don't have to be good at everything, you know?
Yeah. So how would you coach an agent on how to run the financials of their business?
Financials.
Yeah, so a commission check comes in
Oh,
and it's like,
well,
ooh,
I have a forced, I mean, I'm with EXP, so are most of everyone on here are you, I
I
don't
think a
want to.
lot of people are. I don't know that everyone is.
Okay.
So,
So, but regardless of what company you're with, there should be a way for you to set aside. And if your company doesn't do that for you, then you need to put something in place. Maybe you set aside so much. I was just always pretty good about knowing like red light, green light type thing, like when to spend money, when not to spend money, when do I need to pull back, when do I need to like look. I'm always looking at um, my credit card statements, for example, because everything's on my credit card so that I can get points and whatnot. But I'm always looking at, okay, do I really need this? Because let's face it, we all like sign up for things and then we don't pay attention. And then it could be $1,000 later of all these little charges, right? So I'm always looking at that and just keeping a good handle on that. But I have so much money set aside, like pretty much every commission check. I mean, I have EXP takes that out for me. So I have a forced savings account with the stock purchase and whatnot. But I'm just pretty good at like knowing what I what I have. I'm always constantly putting like some into my savings, some into the operating account. And then if I make a decision on spending money, that I definitely see, is this going to bring me a return? There's going to be times that it might not, but I'm willing to like do that because it's good exposure. Um, I do billboards now. I never used to do them, but now I do because I feel like I need to, um, especially in Indiana, I need to let people know that I'm still here because I did move to Florida and I'm not always in Indiana. So I want them to know that my business is still very much alive. I'm still here because my competitors would say, well, she moved. So, like, I've been in this town for 33 years. I don't want them to think that I'm not here just because I don't always sleep here, if that makes sense. So, for me, I had to spend money on marketing that kept my name out there. But in the end, I'm measuring the return on every
okay.
single thing I do.
So you mentioned a savings account, an operating account, and then you obviously have a personal account, right? And so I think that particularly, and I don't know, everybody runs their things differently. However, a lot of times you've talked so much about the value of personal development and putting yourself in rooms and places where you're going to continue to learn and grow. And so that would include events, right? So there's industry events that happen, there's training events that happen, and a lot of times you'll hear agents say, "Well, I can't afford to go to that."
Mhm.
Um, and that is a mindset, right? And so part of like being a business owner and not just a salesperson is how you run your business, which is as money comes in, it is allocated to go different places. And then in that allocation, now you have the liberty to make decisions about the business because you're treating it like a business, not just like not just like a
Mhm.
check that you get in anything else. And I think that's a really important mindset and a distinction, right, for agents, particularly when they look at going from being an agent that enters the industry as a solo agent, if they're going to go on and add leverage into the business through an admin, different hires in the business, and even running and building a team like you have, or multiple teams. And so, is there anything that you learned the hard way in that way that now you do today, as a result? If so, what would that be?
Hmm. I probably hired people I shouldn't have hired because I was just in a hurry and exhausted. And, I probably should have had someone else helping me hire. But back when I was like really in the throes of it, I probably just, if someone had a license or I brought, they look good or whatever, I'm like, yeah, come on, let's go. But so I probably should have slowed down a little bit on the hiring and, went on that. I probably have spent money on marketing that, obviously didn't pan out, but I had to make a decision and that still happens to this day, right? Like I just invested a lot of money into a huge website, went all in on it for 8 or 9 months, and now we're about ready to pull the plug because it's just not working. Our CRM and just everything. And it ended, I thought it was going to save me money. Now it's costing me money. It's causing headaches. So, sometimes you got to give things time. But then sometimes you got to like, nope, this is just dumb. We need to move on now, and you live and you learn. And so there's always going to be things that happen. I try not to dwell on the bad. I try to look at like, okay, what did I learn from that? Let's move on. My mindset, I think, has really helped me have a successful, long lasting career. If things happen to you, I give it a little bit of time, but then I move on. I don't, just continue to doom and gloom and repeat. You know what I mean?
Ruminate, no ruminating.
Yeah.
That's such an important thing. All right, so let's talk to the agent of today's market. You've been through a lot of different markets in 30 years, and this is the third year that nationally we're at around 4 million transactions per year instead of 6 million transactions per year. And yet there are new people coming into the industry that are succeeding like crazy.
Mhm.
There are more seasoned people that are wondering if they're going to stay in the industry
Mhm.
and everything in between. So what is your perspective or thought for the agent in today's market that wants to see success, not just now, but moving forward into whatever the market shall evolve into?
Well, I mean, you have to decide. Do you want to like, I mean, there's always going to be um, something that I mean, for me, it's a challenge to like say, I'm not only going to survive, but I'm going to thrive and I'm going to be relevant. I think you have to be relevant in today's market. You have to constantly be looking at, okay, what do I need to do? I mean, I do a lot of things that I've done for 30 years. And it's that foundation is super, super important. And I'm consistent in that, but I'm always adding, like, okay, now what do we have to add to this? Right. Just to constantly level up. And I think too, when you're on top and you get people copy you. Everybody just starts doing what I'm doing. So then it's like I always had to like, okay, now what do I do now? So I'm always looking for something new and different and how to stand out and differentiate. And basically that unique value proposition. Um,
What are the foundational things that you just referenced, foundational things that you still do today
so
that you've done throughout the
database, keeping in touch, having a database. So many agents, top agents don't even have a CRM and their database. So start with that. Like that is key. And I've had it and you have to like nurture it. And I would mail. I used to mail a lot more. I'm getting back into the direct mail pieces to my database, but whether it's email newsletters, just keeping in touch with them. So, and now 30 years later, I have 40 some thousand people in my database. So it's like, we just continue to market to them. We market to the masses, but we also just can really, really continue to stay in front of our database. We do pies every Thanksgiving where we mail it out. Only 400 come in to get them, but it doesn't matter. It's like we're just
a lot of
constant.
pies, Jana.
It's a lot of pies.
I'm thinking about how many years it would take me to work off that many pies in the gym.
Yeah. But no, it's just keeping in touch with them, being involved in the community. Um, I started a Facebook group during COVID that turned into 41,000 people in our town. And it's called Crown Point Neighbors Helping Neighbors, has nothing to do with real estate, but like it is the go-to if you want to know anything about our town. And everyone, and that was a simple idea of, using my moving truck, helping in a time of need. And then it morphed into it being the sole resource for our town. It's just crazy. So, run with your great ideas. Like, don't hold back and don't ask for permission and don't feel guilty about being out there and being, um, just, I don't know. I'm a giver, so I like to give. So I'm always like, what can I do? What can I do to help type thing? I think if you come from that place of love and generosity and contribution and value, you're always going to win, you know? And so
Yeah,
I
so
don't always get tied up with the money, to be honest with you. I mean, in the beginning, I had goals like, oh, I'd like to sell this many houses or make X amount of dollars. But to be honest with you, I don't even have those type of goals anymore. If you just do and you are the best version of yourself and you're just always improving. And then if you do hire and leverage and you have people that you work with, then you hire people that are good people, that also have those same values. The people that I finally figured it out, like, if we're not in alignment with our core values we're probably not going to last in business together, you know? But my team respects me. They don't expect me to be here all the time. They're not like thinking, oh, she's in Naples and she's, you know what I mean? I'm still working and doing and bringing something to the table for them, and I'm helping them. It has to be a win-win. If you're going to have a team, it's got to be a win-win for both parties. Everybody has to get something from it.
Yeah. So one of the things that's been this theme running throughout everything that you've said is making a decision and a commitment that you're going to not just be in the industry, you're going to succeed in the industry and you're going to stay in the industry. The second thing that's been a theme that's run throughout everything that you've said is unique value proposition. And so what that means is being visible in however you choose to be visible, right? So whether that's things that you're doing through the community or staying in touch with your database, if you're going to succeed in real estate, like it's about being visible because the visibility is huge with people that you're going to do business with, particularly over the course of time. And then you talked a lot about treating the business like a business, from how you handle the financials to how you reinvest in the business, and then the alignment of people that you're going to choose to be in business with. Now, you also said that in the last 30 years, there's been a couple of times where you were ready to throw in the towel, which is, I think, refreshing to hear because a lot of times people look at somebody that's been in the business this long and that's succeeded at the level that you've succeeded at and are succeeding at and say, well, obviously, why would they ever think of throwing in the towel because they've been so successful, right? However, can you think back to like when was the most significant time that you really felt like that? What was going on and how did you navigate it?
I think it's probably, I had a few things happen in my career where maybe, when I switched companies and things, and it kind of, you know, took me back a little bit. And, it was it was my own stuff going on. I had to like get out of that really fast and just move through it and not let it take me down. So, I kind of had to um, work on my own mindset and everything. I think it's just reinventing yourself. You know what I mean? It's like we don't want to do the same thing every day. We got into this business because it was unique and different, right? I didn't want like a same old thing every single day. So what I love about real estate is every day is different. Um, but I think it was just maybe an accumulation of maybe having hired the wrong people or had the wrong people around me. Um, Maybe I needed, a talent upgrade. There's times that like maybe I hired someone and they were with me for like 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And it was just like they weren't growing, but I was. And maybe it just ran its course. And so sometimes that happens, right? And there's nothing wrong with them or nothing wrong with you. It's just like you need something else. So um, I've always infused my energy with honestly, I changed companies to EXP and that like lit a fire under me. And for whatever, it just like I saw a different world and different opportunities and multiple ways to make money instead of just my sales. And then I saw how it was helping other people. So I that kind of lit a fire. So it's always just looking at what can I change here and reinvent or, light a fire under, or maybe what do I need to keep doing? What do I need to stop doing? What do I need to start doing? I'm always doing a keep, start, stop. That's another really good tool that you can take a look at, especially we're coming into fall here. It's just analyzing this isn't working for me anymore. Just because what got me here won't get me there type thing, or wherever I'm going, it's like some of the stuff I'm going to keep doing and I'm going to keep doing it stronger and harder. And then, but what do I need to stop doing that this just doesn't work for us anymore? Right? Maybe it worked 10 years ago, but it's not working now. So I think always looking at your business and looking at you too. Like I had to really take a close look at myself because I thought just doing more was going to be the answer. And I found that I had, in order to do more, you must be more. So I had to like really take a good look at myself and think, what do I need to improve? And still to this day, I'm always doing something for myself to help myself be better so that I have a better mindset and a better attitude and I'm a better leader and whatnot. So um yeah, I'm just trying to throw out things like for you, each of you to be able to take and to do and to assess, but it starts with you. And sometimes we have to do less in order to do more. That makes sense. We have to
Talk about
narrow,
that. Talk about
we
that.
just do less, like kind of like that 135, right? Like just what are just three things you could focus on that could really change the trajectory of your business? Or if it's you that's having some personal things going on and you're just maybe you're not happy or you're just feeling, you know, wore out or whatever, what can you do to give yourself, what you need so that you can be a better realtor or a better leader or a better mom or spouse or whatever. So sometimes it's all about that stuff. I mean, you can't just because you're listing and selling a lot of houses if your personal life is miserable, so it's finding that balance and not feeling guilty about it. We all deserve to be happy and to be fulfilled. And so sometimes it's just taking stuff off my plate. Sometimes it's about delegating and leveraging and just saying, that's not my role. You do this and holding someone accountable and empowering them to go take that part and run with it. Um, so
So here's a magic question. You mentioned, selling 200 homes a year and having 4 children. What's the wife, mother, business person balance? Like, how did you navigate all of that? I know your kids are grown now, so
yeah, my youngest is 25, my oldest is 41. So now they're all out of the house and doing their own thing. So I look back and think, geez, I don't know how I really did it. But I had leverage back then too. I had someone clean my house. Like, I haven't cleaned my house in 35 years, you know, and that's just something I don't enjoy doing. And it's something that someone else can do for me. So, it's just about leverage and getting rid of the stuff and then doing the stuff that I'm good at. So for me early on, I was good at setting at the listing table. So I needed to put people in place and to help me get at every possible listing appointment possible. So, and then so I don't know, right now, I'm older now, so I don't have as near the energy. So I'm constantly figuring out how I can give myself, a good health. So like I work out, I take my vitamins, I'm always doing stuff to help me be the best version of me so that I can handle my load.
yeah. That's I don't remember where it was or who said it, but they said your business will never outgrow the extent that you've grown personally.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's so much easier for a lot of us, I'll include myself, to be like, well, I want to work on the things where I have a strength, which is in business. So I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
focus there. And
Right.
then we know ourselves, even if we're, not wanting to look at ourselves sometimes and the areas that there are to improve or take to the next level. And sometimes it can be like, well, yeah, but I'll get to that or not now or at some point down the road or I don't want to deal with it right now or I don't want to look at it right now or it's, I don't have time for that right now. And um, the experience of putting that self-development piece of it off, in my experience, just creates a bigger cost down the road than being willing to, in the moment, go, okay, um, I'm aware of this, or maybe I'm not aware of it, and I'm getting the same feedback from people, and I disagree with the feedback, but I'm hearing the same feedback from multiple sources of an experience of me, and then it's like, okay, well, is everyone wrong? And I'm right. It's gonna
Mhm.
be challenging, a really challenging thing to do, particularly um, in the context of leadership, right? Because you talked about a career or have talked about a career where you've led yourself well because you've kept a focus on that. However, you also lead a lot of other people. And so
And there's
the
nothing wrong with taking a sabbatical. There's been many times that I just knew that I shouldn't show up, like I wasn't in a good place, whatever. And so, it's giving myself what I needed, allowing myself to have the space that I needed, or removing things off my plate or getting, you know, like maybe, really it starts as I actually been in my same location for like 26 years and I'm doing a new build out. So that's another reinvention, right? Like we're moving, we're excited about the new space and we're decorating it totally different and everything. But I'm also like going through and I'm throwing things out and I'm like, do we really need this now? Looking at your systems, your tools and your systems are going to be key to always revamping them. I mean, I had many systems for 10, 15, 20 years, and then now they're just obsolete or they don't work as well. And there's something better out there. So always assessing, but not making decisions that are going to really, like a permanent, some things that are, what was it the other day? Someone said, don't make I actually wrote it down because I was like, oh, wow, this was like, so what did I'll have to see here, but it was like, wow, like, be careful about some of the decisions you make because they could be permanent, So, there's times that you can test things, but you don't need to test so many things. Get a good CRM, good website, I don't, figure out what it is you really need and then just do that really well before you add a bunch of stuff to the plate. I didn't go open another location until I had my first one where it could run without me being there. I mean, so a lot of people like just expand and then expand too soon, right? I mean, I built a solid team and a solid foundation that didn't depend on me going on appointments. So it just depends on me leading it and bringing the vision and the ideas. So, you know,
I love that. Well, I'd love to open it up to anybody that's on the call for anything that they want to know more or ask. Lindsay, I can tell, has something.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm so excited that I was able to catch you. And is it Jana? Jana?
Jana.
Jana.
Jana. Mhm.
I actually just sold my house in Naples, so I'm so sad that I'm not there now because I would have loved to meet you.
Oh.
But I agree so much, and this was such a refreshing call to hear today for me because I feel like I've been in real estate for almost 16 years, and I had my own brokerage. I sold it, and I'm kind of back in like the reinventing phase. And I have Mallory here; she's actually on my team. If she's still there, yeah, Mallory's there. Um, and it just was really nice to hear you talk about the systems and kind of reinventing and all of that, because I feel like we have gone through a lot of that. But we're trying to, the CRM thing as well. The website CRM, we have been trying to do that for months and we are like pulling the plug on switching another CRM, which is just kind of funny. But um, just having that kind of like consistent of having your CRM and having your system and then not trying to start another thing or move on to another thing. I really like that and how you said that, and just having things be like consistent again. So that was really, really helpful for me. I have a question for you, and I might have missed it because I was in a charity meeting for the first 15 minutes of this call, but what would you say as far as when you had joined EXP and you were kind of having that transition and bringing your people over, what would be a really good tip for how you made that happen?
How did I make it happen? Like
Or
to
was
get
it,
them on board with it or what?
yeah, yeah, when you came over, did everybody that was a part of your team and organization, did they all just come right away?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh,
They
okay,
they
okay,
trusted me. I at the time I didn't lose anyone. I think I made the decision because I made the decision that was right for me and my business, but I also made it knowing that it would be better for them too.
okay,
Because I was able to offer them more than because I was independent on my own and there was just no way that I could offer, everything that EXP offered. So no, I just presented it and told them this is what we're doing. And I didn't really, I mean, I guess I gave them a choice. If they didn't want to come, they didn't have to come. I think if I remember back now, that was 8 years ago. I think I lost a couple people, but they got out of the business too. I think it was a good time to weed people out,
oh,
clean house a
yeah,
little bit. let's face it. I mean, at any given time, I always have a couple people on my team that they're still like, okay, it's like, come on, or maybe it's time for you to go get another job or, most of the time, if they don't make it, if they're not making it with me, they're probably not going to make it on their own.
Right.
It's just, maybe it's just the career's not
Like
right.
you're the
So it's
giver.
helping
You
themselves
give.
discover. Yeah.
Yeah. You can tell that you're a giver and that you give, and that you keep people. It's really,
I
yeah.
keep them around a while and I try, and I'm not near as I used to be. Like, okay, if you're going to be on my team, you got to do this. I was a little more of a drill sergeant back in my KW days, I will admit.
Yeah.
And I've softened a lot through I feel like I've, you know, come from a different place now. And so I give people a chance. Sometimes I see it way before I'm like thinking they're just never, this isn't gonna happen, but I give them a chance. And you know what? If they sell 10, 12 homes a year and it's good for them and they're still a good representative of my service and my standards and my what we stand for and everything, then I'm fine with it. I'm not like I used to be like, oh, you have to sell so many 24 houses a year or you're off the team. I just don't do that anymore. I have a couple good part-timers that they still serve their personal sphere. They may not get all the leads that come in. They're not involved in the lead systems, but yeah, they still bring value and they're still fine. So I'm a little more flexible in my older age.
Love
I
that.
also
Thank
used to
you.
be very adamant about buyer specialist, listing specialist, and now I run a very partner type team. I want to teach them how to do both. I do think that they usually start on the buy side. And so then they can graduate, but I want them to learn how to do both. And so
Right.
I allowed a little more of that too, where before it was always like you were a buyer agent or a listing agent. And so I softened on that too.
Love that. All right. Thank you, Lindsay. Cindy, you've had your hand up next.
Hmm.
Okay, there, sorry. Okay, so you had something about like for yourself, don't try to do a million things at one time. And I have some agents that I'm coaching and that's what they're doing. And so what are some of the tips that you have for me as a coach to remind them that they need to concentrate on one or two things at a time?
So I always like did the little circles or the balls or the plates and think about like if you're balanced, like just I would just draw it out and I'd say, all right, let's talk about every single thing that you're doing right now, whatever it is. And so if they're and what's going to happen is they're going to have 25 little balls or plates and I would put 5%, 5%, 5%. And I mean, 5% effort, 5% result, right? Whatever you focus on increases, whatever you focus on expands. We've all heard that saying, and it's so true. And so it's like, okay, what does this person really need to be focusing on? And I'm not going to give the 4 because their 4 things might be different than somebody else's 4 things, right? But like, just really like, what can we get rid of that you really don't need to be doing at all because it's not even bringing value to your business? And then what could you delegate and leverage yourself away from, and what should you be spending your focus and time on? So it'd be like the 4 things and it could, then you get 25s, you get 4 things and it's 25, 25, 25, and 25. And that's going to take them to a whole nother level. It's just that sometimes it's that 1%, 5% change tweak that takes you to a different level, but it's usually eliminating some things. And again, it's about the power of focus, right? And narrowing that focus and going deeper instead of wider. I mean, I'm the first, like I can do a lot compared to a lot of people, and I have a pretty wide bandwidth, but sometimes I'm not going real deep on each of these things, and so sometimes I need to eliminate and then go deeper, and then get that done. And then boom, maybe that's off and then bring the other in, I mean, you can constantly, as you're a leader, you've got to constantly be moving and going deep. But, yeah, but if they're a one-man show, boom, I would get leverage admin leverage all day long. If you're a single agent and you have no help, that's what you need.
Love that.
And
All right. Thank you, Cindy.
releasing it, they're going to do it better than I. On 98 pounds at one stage in my career. That's not healthy, right? And I couldn't, I was staying up till 2:30 in the morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I was staying up till like 2:30 in the morning, and I'm like, this is not sustainable. This hamster wheel is not sustainable. And your health starts being affected by it. You got to have boundaries. You got to put things in place. Like I fell off the exercise wheel recently because I've just been doing too much, but it's like, I know, oh no, I need to get back on. I need to go to Pilates 3 times a week because that's going to make me sharper, stronger, sleep better, everything, right? So, make that self-care list. And I mean, women, especially for whatever reason, I don't know why, but a lot of women feel guilty about that. Self-care, like, whatever it is that works for you, you got to do that. So if you're a coach, definitely personal development plan, boom, 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 boom. They're learning, boom, boom, boom. And then their task. What are the few things you really need to do and what can you delegate on the rest?
Love
So
that. Thank you. All right, Debbie, last question.
I'll try to make this quick. So I just recently, within the last year, relocated from California to Texas. Jill, I see you're in both states as well. And I am in the process of getting my Texas license, which seems to be taking forever. It's 180 hours. How did you transition into a new market? And still, because I'm still trying to maintain my California business, because I'm still licensed there at least until next year sometime.
do you have anybody in California running that business?
I am a solo agent, so I didn't have like team members or anything. However, I do have agents that I can do referrals to or have them be my boots on the ground if somebody wants to deal with me directly, which I kind of prefer that. So I do have agents that I can bring into the fold if I need to.
Yeah, I don't know if I can answer this in 1 minute, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But I do think for me, I have houses in both. And for me, I already had a very, very established business and team. And I wasn't even going on, like I haven't gone on a listing appointment in 20 years on Indiana, but I'm still the number one agent in my board. Okay. So like for me, it was solid. I didn't really start the other, and I didn't fly back and forth and do that. I definitely, so I think it's super important that you have boots on the ground, somebody, even if it's just one person and they work for you. I don't like to share my quarterback. So like I never shared my admin assistant, like with other agents. I'm like, no, they're going to work for me. If they're in the grocery store and someone says, who should I call as the realtor? I want them to say Jana, not 5 other agents that they work for. So I wanted to know that quarterback was my person, so I would just say maybe get someone that you trust, whether it's another agent, but for me, I already had built my brand and my team, and that was important to me. And I use that branding in both states because I'm a feeder market. So like even on my Indiana logo, you see Southwest Florida on it. I'm very, vocal. Like if you see my both websites, even on my Indiana website, it links to Florida, vice versa. My marketing and branding is it's all similar. So,
Okay.
yeah, we're not hiding the fact like that I'm in both states. We're using it to our advantage. Yeah.
Okay.
So I would get somebody local there that's boots on the ground because, I mean, like I'm in Indiana right now. I have been since May. I'm still doing business in Naples. You know what I mean? Right now, because I've got boots on the ground. Yeah. So it's not easy. And you're going to pick systems that can help. Like my employees work for me on both. My marketing person does both, right? I have admin that focus on just Florida and admin that focus on just Indiana, but they're all part of the team. We're one team, 2 locations. So that was, yeah.
That's an important distinction. All right. Well, this has been a wealth of knowledge. Thank you, Jana. and
Yes.
everyone that joined us on the call today. So the recording you'll be able to find later today. It'll be on our Empire Builders Pro website under the Free Friday Coaching Call on our YouTube channel for anyone that wants to go back and catch the replay. And uh, I am so honored by the fact that you took an hour out of your Friday to be with us and our community. And thank you for all the work that you've done behind the scenes and being a very active part in developing the luxury aspect of our brand and continuing to be somebody that gives back and wants to help people and is still very clearly inspired and energized by what you do. So thank you for being you and the difference that you make. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I hope everyone got a little something and just remember less is more.
Thank
Don't
you.
keep adding, take some away.
Love it.
All right. Take
All
care,
right.
guys. If I
Make
can
it
help
big.
you
Good
next,
night.
let me know.